Hello everyone, hope you're doing alright. A very belated Happy New Year to you all. Thank you very much for sticking with the channel. Thank you very much for continuing to subscribe, to comment, to support the channel. And my apologies, it's been so long. I hope you're doing alright, I hope you're keeping safe, hope you're keeping sane. And to you guys who maybe have set gambling recovery or quitting gambling as your New Year's resolution, I hope you're hanging in there. If you are, that's brilliant news. 10-11 days clear so far. Keep going, keep at it, and yeah, I promise you better things are to come. So where have I been? Well, I am still gamble free, so there's no concerns there. However, over Christmas and the New Year period, I was quite unwell with well, you know what, don't you? Yes, it is a real thing. Despite what some conspiracy theorists may say, it is a real thing. Wiped me out for a few days. Didn't feel particularly great. Fully recovered now. Negative test and all the rest of it. So I'm back. And I did really appreciate you all commenting on my most recent post, asking for video ideas, and I will be picking up some of those up and running with them soon. So I'm now back. The problem is as well at the moment, the way things are, my house is not just a house, it's also 2 offices and a classroom. So finding time sometimes to make the videos that I want to make at the time I want to make them is particularly tricky, so please do bear with me, and like I say, I do appreciate all your continued support of the channel. I do hope that we can sort of continue all working together as a bit of a community this year to sort of stay in recovery and to help others, those who might be new to the channel, those who may have been watching for a while and are now ready to take that step into recovery and to sort of finally make that improvement in their lives. And trust me, it will be an improvement. So what I want to talk about very quickly now is something that I've talked about many times, and if you are a regular viewer to the channel, if you are a subscriber and you have, probably through boredom of lockdown, sat and watched a lot of my videos, you've probably heard me hark on about. But I have noticed a few new people come to the channel, and we are now in another period of lockdown, and I think this time it feels very different, doesn't it? I think previously, maybe back in March, almost in April, there was an element of novelty about the lockdown, wasn't it? There was a certain almost interest in, well, this is new, this is different. There was people doing concerts in their gardens. There were, people having drinks on Zoom and doing online quizzes and all of this. And it was kind of, although it was a bit of an imposition and it was a bit of a pain, I think people sort of maybe saw the best in it and actually sort of treated it as a bit of a novelty, a bit of a new experience. I think by now we're all a bit weathered, we're all a bit worn, and we're all just a bit bored of it. And as gamblers and as addicts, boredom is possibly one of the biggest dangers to us, as we know and as we've talked about many times. So what you need to do, because the end is now coming into sight, because we can maybe see a glimmer of light at the end of this incredibly long tunnel, the tunnel that nobody thought was ever going to be this long, we can see a glimmer of light. So all we need to do is keep our heads down, protect ourselves, and make sure we can get to the end of this tunnel with our resolve, with our recovery intact. And I am going to go on and on and on about the same things I always go on about, but make sure you have those blocks in place. Make sure you are, for the time being, protected against urges which will arise, particularly if you're not working, particularly if you're at home, maybe alone, and particularly if they stop people from mixing with support bubbles or whatever they're calling them these days. This is going to probably get worse and get more depressing before it gets better. But we won't find sort of long-term relief from boredom. We won't find a cure to the situation we're in through gambling. It will only make things worse. And if we can stay away from gambling between now and whenever we're out of this current situation, then we'll find ourselves not only a decent way into our recovery, but hopefully we'll find ourselves in a better financial position and a better position sort of emotionally and sort of in terms of the way we feel about the world as a whole. And we can go out at the end of all this and actually take advantage of our newfound freedoms, or at least finding our old freedoms returned to us, as I do have an element of hope, maybe misplaced hope, but hope and optimism that we will soon achieve. So what do we need to do? Well, let's face it, at the moment there are only a few avenues of gambling available to us. Bookies, thankfully, are shut. Casinos are shut, arcades are shut, pubs are shut, so we can't go in there, go on the fruit machines or whatever, and lose our money that way. The vast majority of the way in which we will be gambling at the moment, if we are gambling at the moment, is online. And thankfully, this is one of the easier ways we can prevent ourselves from gambling, one of the easier methods to stop gambling. GamStop, of course, is one of your first ports of call. GamStop is incredibly powerful, and there will, of course, be a link in the description to GamStop below. Also, make sure that you can't deposit, if possible, to a gambling site using your debit card, or well, you can't use credit cards anymore anyway. Using your debit card, contact your bank and ask them. If it isn't immediately apparent on the website, contact them and ask them if there is a way you can block gambling transactions on your account. This is incredibly powerful, and what this will do, whilst GamStop is incredibly, a really good tool, it isn't watertight. There are really unscrupulous, really dodgy casinos out there that will let you gamble there, even if you are a member of GamStop. And I've said before in a video before, I would strongly recommend avoiding these casinos. We have to think that if a casino has dubious enough morals that they will accept bets and they will accept wagering from someone who has signed up to GamStop, someone who clearly has accepted they have a problem, but they're still willing to accept those people as customers, you have to debate the morals of this company and whether or not, even if you did have a bit of luck and win in the short term, whether you'd actually ever see the money from that win. Okay, so it isn't completely watertight. It's very powerful, GamStop, but it isn't watertight. And if you can block gambling transactions with your card issuer, with your bank, then that is another layer of protection against gambling online during this lockdown. Allow someone access to your money. We often say about handing over control of your money, or even handing over your money to a loved one, to your partner, to your wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, mum, dad, sister, brother, great good friend, whatever. Okay, we talk about that, and it is a great way to manage it. If someone else has got your money, you can't gamble with that money while they've got it. But if you're not happy to do that, and although I think that should be your first port of call, but if you're not happy to do that, then give someone you trust access to your bank account. Give someone you trust access to your bank statements and access to your transactions. I've said before that my accounts are through Monzo. They are joint accounts with my wife. If I basically place a transaction on my card, my wife will get a notification on her phone to say that the card has been used to spend X amount at X place. So I would not be able to deposit, although my gambling transactions are blocked anyway, but even if they weren't, I wouldn't be able to deposit at any online casino, any online bookmakers without her knowing. Yes, of course, when things are back open again, I could withdraw cash on the card, couldn't I? And I could wander into bookies and play the fob teas or whatever, or go to the pub and play the fruit machines if that ever happens to be a thing again. All right, but also then I'd have to explain away a cash withdrawal, and that can be quite difficult to explain. So do that. Give over access to your accounts, and then you become answerable to someone. Yeah, you might buy stuff that maybe they don't 100% approve of, and you might cause a little bit of friction here, there, and everywhere. When I did it initially, my wife could basically track every pint I was buying at the pub, but maybe she would have a little bit of a go at me for having 6 or 8 pints of an afternoon during watching the football. But at least she knew I wasn't gambling, and I think she was happy to accept minor indiscretions, in order to protect me from myself and from my biggest indiscretion. From a personal perspective, while I'm talking about drinking, it's actually something I've decided to knock on the head for a little bit. While I was ill, obviously, I wanted to sort of stop drinking so much to help myself recover. And also now it's just something I've sort of decided to extend out a little bit. I'm going to try and use this period of lockdown to do something positive. And whilst I would encourage you to do the same, I appreciate that's not easy. And I don't want to come across preachy, but maybe now that the end is in sight, we can use that end date, whatever that might be, as a target to achieve something that we've maybe been planning to achieve, previously, before lockdown, or during the last lockdowns when there was no end in sight. Maybe now use this as an opportunity to, challenge yourself to do X, Y, Z before the lockdown is lifted. There is no doubt in my mind that when that lockdown is lifted, I'll be the first in the queue at the pub, and I guarantee it'll be a bit of a session. right? But in the meantime, I've decided to try and concentrate on myself a little bit more, you know, to obviously continue my gambling recovery, which, touch wood, is going very well, but also to improve my life in sort of other ways. And, you know, I don't want to be someone, these self-help people who tells you to make things better, but maybe have a think about things you could do that are at least a little bit positive in the interim, you know, and get us, so we can all get through this and get out the other side together. Like I say, thank you to everyone who's offered me video ideas for videos. I will be addressing some of those in due course when I get the chance. Like I say, I'm just grabbing this opportunity now. I've got a little bit of time alone to record this to say thank you for your continued support. Hello to all the new subscribers. Wishing you all the best in 2021. To everyone who's followed the channel, whether it was from the start or whether you've literally just joined, stay safe, stay sane, stay gamble free. Let's keep supporting each other throughout 2021. And yeah, I look forward to catching you on the next video. And I almost promise you it won't be as long this time. Take it easy.